How to analyze a large dataset and prepare a detailed report for management in just a few minutes. Today, I will introduce you to a powerful Excel tool that will significantly save your time and effort. Before you is a table with the sales report for the third quarter of 2024. It includes months, store numbers, cities, as well as the names of salespeople and their performance indicators, both planned and actual. As you can see, the table is quite large and we need to answer a number of business efficiency-related questions based on its data. For example, we can determine the revenue shares by cities, the dynamics of sales plan fulfillment, as well as identify the leaders and losers among the salespeople, and so on. So, first of all, the data range needs to be converted into a table. To do this, click the left mouse button on any cell in the range and press the Ctrl plus a key combination. Now that the range is selected, I press Ctrl plus T. Before clicking OK, it is important to ensure that the checkbox in the appearing window is ticked because the table contains a header. Great, the next step is to convert the regular table into a pivot table. For this, in the Table Design tab, I click on the icon called Summarize with Pivot Table. So, Excel offers us two options for placing the pivot table. It can be displayed on the current sheet or on a separate one. I prefer to create reports on separate sheets to avoid confusion. Therefore, I leave the first option here and click OK. The pivot table object has been successfully added to the new sheet. As you can see, at the moment, the report is empty because the pivot table needs to be constructed using the special fields presented on the right side of the working window. They fully correspond to the column names of our table. A little below, right after the fields, there are 4 areas. Each of them processes incoming data in its own way and displays the result on the screen. Now let's get acquainted with how this works a bit. From the list of fields, I will check cities. So, what happened? Firstly, the field I selected was automatically added to the row area. Secondly, instead of an empty report, a list of cities was displayed. Of course, this information does not tell us much yet, so I will return to the list of fields and check sales revenue. So, the selected field was automatically added to the value area. Just a few simple actions, and Excel has already built me a small report with the revenue size by cities. Let's continue. Fields can also be manually distributed to different areas. To do this, you can right-click on one of the fields and select a suitable area for it. Moreover, fields can be simply dragged by holding down the left mouse button. As I mentioned earlier, each area processes data according to its specifics. Therefore, if you want to display them, for example, in columns, you should place the selected field in the corresponding area. As you can see, the city names are now distributed not in rows but in columns. Additionally, using the filter button, you can filter the display to only include the cities you need for your report. Moving on. Everything related to calculations should be sent to the area called Values. I have now added sales revenue to it, and Excel automatically calculated and displayed the total revenue for each city. Moreover, the report now includes an overall total. By default, Excel performs a sum operation for the values area, but you can change the operation type if necessary. To do this, click on the arrow on the right and select Field Settings from the drop-down list. The dialog box offers different operation types. Suppose I want to know the maximum revenue values for each city instead of the sum. To do this, I would select the operation that matches my goal from this list. Great, the pivot table now displays the maximum revenue values for each city. If you want your report to include both the maximum and total values, simply add the sales revenue field to the values area again. And place the cities in the rows area. Done, the report now has separate columns for both total and maximum values. It will also look better if I change their format to currency. To do this, I will click on any value in the column. Then, I will right-click and go to the number format settings. I'll choose the option I need and remove unnecessary signs. Clicking OK. I'll do the same with the third column of the table. Good, I think you're starting to understand the essence of pivot tables, but the most interesting part is yet to come. How about creating a small report that shows the sales shares by city for a single month, such as August? First, I'll remove the unnecessary data in the form of maximum values from my pivot table. I'll then convert the total revenue into shares. To do this, in the Field Settings window, I'll open the tab called Show Values As. Then, I'll open the drop-down menu and select the option that calculates the percentage of the total. For better visualization, I'll sort the column with shares in descending order. At this stage, the report displays the sales shares for the entire quarter, but my goal is to show these figures only for August. To do this, I need the area called Filters. This is where the field with the months should be added. Now, an additional filter row has been added to the report. In it, you can select the desired month. In my case, it's August. The report is ready. If desired, you can slightly edit its style and display. You can now see how I do this using basic Excel tools. Alright, now I will show you a useful trick. Knowing this, you can significantly save time when creating similar reports. So, on the Pivot Table Analyze tab, open the drop-down list next to the Options icon. Then select the Show Report Filter Pages command. In the dialog box that appears, click OK. In this way, Excel created similar reports on new sheets but already for July and September. Now imagine how much time and effort it would take you to create all these reports using formulas. Fortunately, pivot tables solve such tasks very quickly and efficiently. It's quite a flexible tool because with just one action, I can change the report to suit my needs. Look, I just moved the month field to the column area, and now the report shows sales shares by city for each month. Great, if you want to see sales shares not by cities but by stores, there are no problems. Just remove the city field from the row area and add the store field instead. I also want to remind you that you can add several fields to one area at once. Look at what happens if I add the city field to the row area. It's essential to pay attention to the order of the fields, as it will determine the final result. Now I will change this order by simple dragging with the left mouse button. The report transformed noticeably, and now it has a more user-friendly structure. We can now quickly determine which city belongs to which store. For example, store number 005 is in Chicago, and 006 is in New York, and so on. Before proceeding to create the next report, I want to draw your attention to the source data. I think you remember how at the beginning of the video I converted this range into a table. This step was necessary so that when new data comes in, the report I created is automatically updated with current information. What do I mean? Suppose that in September, a new store opened in San Francisco with 2 salespeople, but the manager, for some reason, did not manage to add their sales figures to the table on time. Fortunately, we do not need to rebuild the report from scratch. It is enough to just enter the new data into the table. Alright, we just need to refresh the report. This can be done through the context menu. As you can see, the data for the new store automatically appeared in the pivot table. Also, when several fields are contained in the row area, additional buttons appear in the pivot table that allow you to collapse or expand a list. To apply one command to all lists, you need to right-click and select the appropriate command. For example, collapse the entire field. Great, I think that's clear. Moving on. Let's create another report as an example. It will list the top 5 salespeople of the company. So, I go back to the source data page and create a new pivot table. I recommend naming each table as it will help you stay organized and not get confused when working with a large number of reports. The same goes for sheet names. So don't be lazy and maintain order in your Excel workbook. Alright, to create a report showing the top 5 salespeople in the company, a few simple actions are required. In the row area, I will add the salesperson field. In the value area, sales revenue. Then I right-click on any cell with the salesperson's name and in the filter options, I select the top 10. In the dialog box, everything remains unchanged except for the second field. Here, I specify the number 5 because the report should only include the top 5 salespeople. If I needed to create a list of the lowest performers, I would select the bottom option in the first field. Overall, the other settings fully align with my task, so I click OK. The report is ready. Thanks to the flexibility of pivot tables, I can enhance and edit it as I see fit. For example, how about adding information to the report on which cities and stores these salespeople work in? Watch, I simply add the city field to the row area. Then change the report layout to tabular and remove the subtotals. Now I add the stores to the row area. Great, if you want to know the top salespeople information for a specific period, add the month field to the filter area. All this is done so easily and quickly, which is, of course, very pleasing. Notice, I just created a report of the top salespeople by revenue size. but they can also be evaluated by another criterion. In the source data table, there are planned sales targets for each salesperson, and now I will edit my report to find out who achieved the best results in meeting their targets. To do this, I will remove the sales revenue field from the values area. Then I'll go to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. Click on this icon and choose Calculated Field from the drop-down list. Essentially, I'm creating a new field that will show the achievement of sales targets. I'll name it Achievement and indicate a percentage. Below, I'll provide a simple formula where the total revenue is divided by the planned sales targets. Alright, all that's left is to set the percentage format for the new field and filter the data. Done, the desired result is obtained. Now I want to touch upon the values area separately. In fact, you can add not only numbers but also text to it. Look, I just moved the salesperson field into it, and Excel calculated the number of salespeople. However, there's a small issue. The cells with repeated content were included in the count, and therefore the same salespeople appeared multiple times in the statistics. Currently, the parameters specify a count operation. But how do you count only the unique elements in such a case? The solution is quite simple. When creating the pivot table, you need to check this checkbox. Then, an operation will be available in the parameters that allows you to count only distinct elements, bypassing any duplicates. This way, we can easily determine how many employees work in each city or store. Alright, let's move on. Overall, you already have an understanding of how to use pivot tables. And I have some good news for you. The developers of Excel have thought ahead for us and added a useful tool that allows you to select a pre-made report based on the source data. To do this, go to the Insert tab and click on the Recommended Pivot Tables icon. In the window that opens, there's a list of pivot tables, and you can preview each one. Sometimes you can indeed find a suitable option in this list and save time on creating a report. Once you've made your choice, click OK. Great! Typically, we find it easier to perceive information through visual elements. In my view, charts are the best at helping with this. In the Pivot Table Analyze tab, I'll click on the Pivot Chart icon. There's a wide selection of different charts here, organized into specific categories. A bit to the right, you can hover your cursor over the image of the future chart to take a closer look and decide if it suits your needs. Click OK. And the chart is added to the worksheet. Note that the chart and pivot table are closely linked. If I make any changes to my report, the chart immediately responds to them. You can also add special slicers here and control the report's display with a single click. This tool is in the Pivot Chart Analyze tab. In this window, you need to specify which fields you want to apply the slicers to. Let's say, for example, cities and months. Click OK. So, I now have two new objects on my sheet. These are interactive control elements that allow you to filter data in pivot tables and charts. Look, I just select the necessary elements, and the pivot table along with the chart displays the relevant sales information on my screen. With all these tools, you can create dashboards and display the necessary information on the screen with just one click. In one of the upcoming lessons, I will teach you how to create beautiful and effective dashboards for analyzing key metrics. And that's the end of this video. Like the video if you found the material helpful, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new Excel tutorials. I wish you success in your learning, and see you next time.